Library District's Building Committee meeting. And first thing probably is we need a roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Virgo?
Here.
Mr. Laggio?
Here.
Ms. Wyckoff? Mr. Thiewes?
A quorum has been established. So next order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, Michael, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second. Joycelyn.
The motion has been, for the approval of the agenda has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, would you call the roll on the approval of the agenda, please?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Virgo?
Yes.
Mr. Laggio?
Yes.
Ms. Wyckoff? Mr. Thiewes?
Yes. The ayes have that motion also. The agenda has been approved. Next order of business then would be the minutes. The minutes from the meeting of Tuesday, October 26th. There are motion to approve the minutes.
I move approval of the minutes. I'll second.
Second, we have a, did you get the second? Okay, what do you think? Good motion in a second.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Virgo?
Aye.
Mr. Laggio?
Aye.
Ms. Wyckoff? Mr. Thiewes?
Yes. Yes, there's the, by that vote roll call, we have also now approved the minutes of the last meeting. All right. The primary purpose of this meeting is really item 5, and that is to discuss the proposal for us to consider a program for maintenance of I think 25 buildings and so forth. So the next motion then is the capital improvement maintenance plan, and I'm not sure who's going to make this presentation for us.
Well, I could just, if I could just say a few words.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
trustee, with us today is Todd Sweeney from Navigate. Todd has been working with Aaron Gordon and Susan Ray on developing a proposal for capital improvement and maintenance planning. And this was talked about a lot during our last budgeting season, that we needed to develop a maintenance plan for the next 5 to 10 years. And because of Aaron's hard work, we settled on Navigate as a company that can help us do that. Aaron, if you just want to share a few words about the process, and then I guess we could turn it over to Todd, who has a short presentation for us to let everyone know about his company and the work that he's proposing to do.
We started out just reviewing off of what the work that wasn't done with through the years with Jay Dunn. When this first started out looking at this, there was a larger amount of work and scope, like we talked about at the last meeting, that need to be addressed. And really, we were looking into this and trying to figure out with a limited time frame to try to give the best impact for the library and what could be done to create a budget and to provide information so that everybody can make a well-informed decision. Did some research and went out and talked to several people. Had a few dead ends, but came across Navigate and talked to Todd Sweeney, had some meetings with him and discussed what those services were and what he could do for us. And so after discussion, he's fully capable of providing those numbers for us and giving us a proposal to do so in the form and fashion that will, keep our buildings up to date and create this maintenance plan. So with that said, I want to give Todd the opportunity to have his proposal and just kind of talk to you guys about what he can do for us.
Wonderful. Mr. Sweeney, I think probably we'll have you stand in front of that lectern. So I think television's work, so he'll be shown. I want him on television.
I'll give you copies as well, just so you can take notes like, wow. Thank you. There you go. Hot diggity dog. My name is Todd Sweeney with Navigate Building Solutions. I'm one of the two co-founders. We're if I can, what I'd like to do today is 10 quick minutes, just introduce myself, briefly talk about scope work, and more importantly, answer any questions you may have so that you feel comfortable that we're providing a service you feel is necessary and can benefit the district. First of all, when I introduce myself as Todd Sweeney, what I'm introducing is a full service team. We've got over 30 colleagues, technical advisors, each with unique skills, credentials, each with experience, because I think when you hire a consultant, what you're really hiring isn't somebody that's any different than anybody in this room, except it's a person or a team of people that have a different set of experiences. Right? They've gone through a certain circumstance. They've gone through a maintenance challenge. They've gone through a roofing challenge. They've gone through an HVAC challenge. And when you have a collaborative office like this, like ours, you can bring everybody together. You get all that experience brought forth compared to the benefit of the public clients we serve. And we have proven results. I'm introducing a company with proven results. We document what we do, and we can show you the results of not only in the form of testimony of every single client we work for. I can show you a written letter of reference. That's old school. It's just what I do. Try to get my kids to do it. They won't get a letter of reference. I don't get it, but I've got one for every client I work for. And more importantly, is we got the numbers to back it up as well. So we'll kind of introduce that here. 100% of our work is served as a plan and implementation consultant. We're a consultant. We're not J. Dunn, we're not gonna Bell, and we're not SAP, we're not an architect. We're a quarterback, we're a management consultant. Okay, in that role, 90% of our work is for public agencies. So we specialize in, our niche is public agencies. We do a ton of work for municipalities, we do a ton of work for school districts, and then we do a ton of work for miscellaneous districts, whether it's library, fire, park, as you can see. That's important to you because everything you do has to be implemented in accordance with state law, right? With local law, your local procurement guidelines. When I work for public bodies such as yourself, the last thing you need to worry about is go to sleep and wonder if somebody's going to challenge your integrity. Right? If we're engaged and if we're quarterbacking the job in any capacity or the information we give you or how we engage people, every element of that is focused on the idea of crossing your T's, dotting your I's so that you could be assured you're not breaking the law, nor are you doing anything that could be perceived inappropriately. It just won't happen on my watch or with my firm. It won't happen for you either if we're engaged. We've been doing this since 1999. We were actually a division of a firm like J.D. Dunn, for example, or Brett McCowan and McCowan Gordon, excuse me. We worked for Perrick out of St. Louis, and they had a division for 20 years that I ran that did the consulting role as well as general contracting. What that means, though, is our team, a lot of us come out of general contracting role. So we have the ability to estimate, view things from a practical standpoint. If you're going to do a maintenance item, how do you actually get it done? You know, what's the temporary wall I'm going to have to put up? How am I going to access this? How am I going to get something in here so I can do the work? All those things are built into our ability to also estimate, which is one of the key services that I believe Aaron was looking for when he was talking about planning. I need to know how much this stuff's going to cost so we can start breaking it down and applying it. We currently provide services in multiple states. Oh, by the way, in 2016, we broke out from underneath that. 3 of us left the general contractor and said, we can do this better if we do it as an independent resource. I have no connection to an architect or general. I'm not aligned with them. I'm not endeared to them. We provide consulting services. I work for you, period. That's my only interest. And not only that, but when you get out from underneath the mothership, you can be a lot less expensive. You just simply can. You can provide your services more economically, and that's what we're doing. So it's taken off. If you go to the next slide, please, that'd be awesome. We do work in Kansas City. Obviously, we are headquartered out of St. Louis. We are establishing an office in Kansas City. In fact, 2 of us will be, I'll have 1 full-time person in Kansas City next year, as well as myself. So my wife and I have committed Wednesday through Friday to live. We actually got a place in Lee Summit. Sorry, could have been Independence, but I just was too late on that.
I'm sorry, but you don't have to apologize.
Is that where you live? All right. Okay, good. I like the train station. I like the ability to get here. I can't lose 8 hours driving. I just can't. I got to work during that time. It's just that whole ADD thing you got is when you own a company, man. So that's what we're doing. We're here. I'd rather be here than on Zoom, quite frankly, so you can get to know me. We have 3 of the projects. I got one in Olathe, Lenexa, and Lee Summit. We're going to see the living complex in your neck of the woods. So we do have some of that. There is that other 10%, and that's generally filled up with multifamily, quite frankly. Next slide, please. Oh, by the way, my first knee surgery, I was in a hospital in Kansas City. I'm talking to Doc, he slides open the curtain. An African-American gentleman, huge guy, looks at me, it was Derek Thomas. He's like, you getting your knee work done? I had that same surgery. Sorry, that's, I love cheap, sorry, that's the problem I got, apparently. What we did. I know, I gotta be careful with them anywhere else, but we are project planning experts, we implement management, so in this particular engagement, we're being asked to help you plan. We do offer the ability to help implement. Now, we do that, not all carte blanche, it doesn't have to be we do everything, but there could be some things that roll out of this, and we're gonna talk to you about potentially, hey, if that happens and we can be a fit, great. If not, love to help you plan, move on, right? We organize, facilitate the planning, design, and construction of activities, whether they're small siding renovation like we did for DeBear Lodge in a recreational center, or could also show up on yours as a tuck pointing job or a window job. That's what we do, right? 2 full builds. Right, we represent a lot of people that are doing full builds, so the full spectrum. Our job is to remove your risk. Go to the next slide, please. We've done a lot of libraries. This is stuff that Navigate's contracted since 2016. That's ours, right? It was under our contract with owner to us. The next slide. I mentioned we have a whole lot of folks that work with us. So there's a lot of other large libraries, urban libraries, a lot of other experience that we can draw on with the rest of my team. That's the second slide. Okay. Didn't have a contract with Navigate, but one of my guys managed to work. That's important to me because I need to know that when I'm engaging you so that we can start talking about like the historic one we did in St. Louis. So funny. John Mueller, ran that job, right? He was with the different owner representatives at the time, and he's been with me for the last 6 years, so since we started the company. So we've got that kind of experience. So if we run into some historic, we could work on that, and if we're doing something else, we can do similar things. In addition, we do a lot of planning work, quite frankly. We do a lot of the K-12 market. We're excited to be able to do it for you guys. These are just projects we've done in the last couple of years. All of these are representative of the same exercise we're proposing for you. It's an effort to look at capital improvement and maintenance only, not new builds necessarily. It's an effort to look at all the small stuff nobody wants to mess around with. And you can see the type of services we provided, you can see the number of buildings, and you can see the year we did the activity. All right? Go to the next slide, please. On your assignment, we started with 30-something, then we went to 23, then we went up to 25. 25 libraries that have imminent 5-10-year maintenance needs based on our discussions. We know where they're at, we've documented it, we know where we're going. We know that your team has kept remarkable drawings. That's huge. That's huge, because if I'm going to replace windows and I don't have to send somebody in the field to go measure all the windows, I can look at an elevation, a set of drawings Aaron has, I can scale it off in my office a lot quicker than I can walking around a building. I can create the quantities, right? Because one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to perform a visual survey to know what needs to be done. Your team already has a pretty good list. We want to complement that. We want to justify that. We want to understand it. We want to go deeper, right? 2-person team, Don and Scott. Okay? Envelope, we're looking at foundations, facade, windows, doors, roofing, ceilings. Once we do that, we'll also hit the interior, floor, walls, ceiling, bathroom, lighting. Mechanical systems, air devices, site conditions, parking lot, sidewalks, fencing, landscaping, and drainage. Those are the activities we identified were the highest return on investment. There could be some other things out there. There could be a special piece of equipment in some school lab that you're like, the principal's like, library. There could be some shelving system that you wanted to change out all along, right? You always want to get rid of fixed shelves and go to rolling shelves, and somebody's calling that CI or maintenance, and it might be on your guys' radar, but it's not something that you guys felt you needed my help with. We can figure out some of those miscellaneous things, on our own. So we focused on these activities. Really about keeping your buildings in good shape for a length of time. Navigate will document the deficiencies, develop a scope of work or repairs, create a detailed budget. That's important. I'm not just going to wing it. We're going to quantify. We're going to have unit cost. We're going to have the type of window. We're going to have, the quantity, and we're going to build the estimate for it. Okay, no different than if we were a contractor, you do a home repair and you ask somebody for a budget on how to replace the floor, and they tell you it's so many square feet, it's gonna cost us this much, and we got labor. You wanna know that because you're making a decision yourself. You wanna buy that. That's the same level of quantity we'll have here. It also gives you the ability to adjust it. Wow, that gym floor, that floor in that particular building was that much. Why is it so much more than the square foot you used over here? We can talk to you about it. Maybe it's prep, maybe it's floor, maybe it's a mess, right? It needs more than just pull out and put back. Maybe we look at it, we say we can floor over. It's cheaper. But that's funny because a lot of times our clients look at this and say, wait, you use different numbers. We did, so different conditions. We'll be able to articulate that. So you feel good about your number, what you want to spend it on. Now you will establish a list of immediate needs and prioritize work. So we'll work with Aaron to go through that list, identify things that we all agree are imminent to the lifespan of the building and what aren't, what are cosmetic, what aren't, and give you that type of feedback so you can make those choices. It's about informing you so that you have a tool to make choices. And nothing bothers me more in our industry than when you get told by a designer, you want this or this, but they don't give you the cost difference. I'll take the nicer one, please. Right? Assuming it fits within budget. Oh, I didn't say that. I just said you want this one or this one. So we need to be able to give you those choices with dollars. And that's what I think we'll do very effectively, given the opportunity to work for you. Next slide, please. In addition, there was couple things that needed to be done that weren't like building specific. One was, Aaron said, man, can we put a schedule together on resealing and just fixing these parking lots that's global? It happens for every single site we have and just covers that. It's got to be a schedule when we need to do it and when not to do it. Yes. Can we look at these buildings a little closer and at least get a sense for, there's been some discussions about potentially replacing, this campus and the buildings here. We have a lot of money in this, guys, because we're trying to keep your budget down. But I will give you some order of magnitude. I got a couple of light buildings that we built that are brand new. I could do some. That one probably will be more square foot cost, but it'll be a budget to say, hey, look, here's the maintenance we're planning on. So we're going to spend a lot of time in these two buildings. This is the chunk of money. Here's your replacement. And then you could take that and say, that's in the ballpark. Let's take that further. Or you can say, yeah, there's no way we're spending that kind of money. Right? But you'll make that choice. If you say it's in the ballpark, let's do something with it. We would ask for another task order to really dive into that. Does it need to be the same size? Does it need to be bigger? Can it be more efficient? How do we lay out the 3 buildings? There's all kinds of dialogue that would go into that study. It's not included currently, but it could be should that number be something that you want us to look at, okay? And then we are proposing to be procured through a national cooperative agreement. So it took us, we've been working on it for about 3 years. We have chased a bunch of competitions nationally through cooperative purchase agreements. The one that we actually secured was through TIPS. There's Omnia, a lot of public agencies you may or may not be aware, but your organization, I'm sure, buys something off of some co-op, whether it's paper supplies or pens or something. And it's because they've gone out and competed for a service, negotiated it and contracted it as best value. And then they offer that competition and best value solution to other public agencies so quite frankly, they can go quicker, which is important for you guys for your budgeting for next year. And you can pick a guy that's already been vetted and most qualified. With that, they discounted my rates. I can't offer you any lower rates, nor can I offer anybody else lower rates, with the exception, believe it or not, of the federal government. Which surprises you, right? We always think the federal government gets gigged with. The federal government has in their contract that they get the lowest rates. They're the same, but by the way, everybody gets the same rates. Because they're part of the co-op, we have the ability to change that for those. So anyway, and then we negotiated hours and rates, and what it would take to get to not rates, hours and a work plan, what it would take to get to work done. It seems satisfactory to your administration. We may get help. There might be some complicated things. Jacob Nelson with True Engineering happens to be the engineer that supported your projects. We do have a consultant agreement with him that allows us to utilize him as a consultant for some HVAC challenges we may have. He actually taught my middle son down at Missouri State, so I've actually known him a long time. He's actually a nice man. And we've used him as a sub-consultant before. The fact that he works for your district already is just easy. That makes sense. He knows your systems. He knows Aaron. We may get some roofing help depending on that. So, and then quite frankly, we might use third parties. If it's a specialty system, we need help with. I just don't want that not to be stated because none of that affects you. It's under us, right? We contract for that. What we won't do is we don't currently see the need to do any type of environmental testing If all of a sudden we run into a mold issue or asbestos issue and our guys are like, dang, it's there. Now, one thing, you can leave it potentially. It might already be encapsulated. But if it's there and we start talking about doing some sort of renovation that's going to impact it, we probably need to take somebody in there and figure out what this really is. What would we have going? What's the cost to fix that? That would be a task that we'd bring Aaron and say, here's a company, we vetted them, we got bids on it. Would you consider hiring this firm for this activity? And then I'm almost out. This is good. I think I'm at my 10 minutes for sure. If you go to the next slide, please. I mentioned before, if you choose to implement, or Aaron says, man, you know, I got 90% of this, but 10% of these items I could use your help on, I'm sure he'll bring that forth. We're going to offer it to him and you as a district, because we do. And quite frankly, our return on investment is generally, we usually pay for our fees at this point 2 times over. I can show you documents to support that, because the procurement of these unusually small activities, in accordance with state statute, you could start losing value really quick. Right? Small companies don't like to publicly bid small work. They want bigger jobs, right? So how do you package that? How do you get vendors excited? How do you, get the work done? What do you do together? What don't you do together? There's strategies to all that I think we could be a great partner to your district on, if given the opportunity. But if not, I would be thrilled to do this study, call it in. And if we don't add value now, then don't hire us for the second phase, right? Honestly, we will. We will. I can do that because I know we will, but regardless. Any questions? Oh, next slide. Oh, there's some of our testimonies, but we certainly have more. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you do an analysis for immediate needs. And I'm thinking that, considering that every one of the branches has either extensive renovations or replacement, I'm wondering how we're going to define immediate.
Our record.
5-year plan, 5-month plan, just.
Good question. So what we typically do, and what we like to do, is make a recommendation to your administration of how we would define that and ask them for their input, right? Because everybody's uniquely different. To me, immediate renovation is anything that has to occur that maintains the lifespan of the building. You got water intrusion, you got a roof leak, you got something that is going to, you got an HVAC system that may not make it through the winter, right? Anything that's immediate within the next 12 months that needs to be fixed to maintain the life of the building. That would be our first priority. After that, we often look at timing on that, but the timing and priority, it's funny, they kind of lay out on their own because they become a schedule. And people often use scheduling, what has to happen first, just simply because it could fail sooner, is how priorities are often then laid out. We would suggest that to Aaron and to you as a team. I'm sure he would bring that back to you as the building committee and then say, does that make sense? Is that the right way to prioritize? Or you may, and I'd love to hear it, have another idea of how you think prioritization should be to be the best suit your district.
I guess where I'm coming from is that, considering that everything is supposed to be new and state-of-the-art and best practices, considering everything has just been basically built within the past couple of years, is it reasonable that we could expect anything to be within a short-term requirement to be addressed?
Well, if I could interject here, and Aaron, you could help me out. The list is for 25 locations. So we omitted the brand new builds, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. So what we're more focused on are buildings like Dearborn, Oak Grove, buildings like that. Aaron, do you have anything to add?
Sure, if I can speak to this a little bit. If you go back to the slide that kind of shows the list of locations, Antioch, I can tell you, the HVAC system was not replaced when we updated the building. It was put in, I helped design that system and put it in. It's around 2005 or 2007, if I remember correctly. The roof is way beyond warranty. It's 20 some odd years old. Now, when we're talking about what's an immediate need, right? We talk about useful life of equipment. We talk about useful life of roofs. You're beyond warranty. And a lot of these systems of what we're recommending, we're at that 20-year mark on an HVAC system, or we're close to it, right? So what we're trying to do is, before we have a complete failure, we want to go ahead, we want to get it updated so that it goes back to being well maintained, so we don't have to close the building because something, like you said, you could, MGC, we've had issues with, the roof over there from time to time. We had a problem with the seam a few years ago. We had to call a contractor, we had to close it partially, but anyway, those books are rare. We want to stay on top of it. It's something that's of the same sort. That's what this is based on. When you look at your flat work, your concrete work, we've gone out, we've looked at those. There's areas like you can see the curbs at MGC that have started to fail. There's over 1,000 linear feet of curb that I looked at that I go, at some point, pretty soon we need to look at. So all this has been identified prior to and vetted before we hand it over, say, hey, these are the items, just like he said, that need to be addressed at this point. And not all that was touched with Jay Dunn. That's the thing. The original plan, according to Brad, he told me was over 200 million. And I think we were at 84 million is what it went through at because of they had to streamline it down. But there's still a lot of issues out there that need to be looked at. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, you mentioned Antioch, that's my branch. And I recall when it was reopened, there was a whole array of different elevation stacks. So, and again, this all predates us in this room. But it seems to me that what I'm hearing is that we bought new stacks for the books before we fixed the roof.
I think the finishes are different. So the stacks were at Library Bureau. And so,
I mean, I'm short. I could see over the
oh, you mean as far as the configuration? Really, those were what we did. What we're able to do is through this capital plan, the amount of materials that were being circulated was changed. So like you probably lost as far as the way you displayed those materials and the amount of space that needed to be in this purpose-based library. You went probably 25% lean. So what the idea was your surplus inventory would be reused at another point. Almost all this was repurposed. It was Library Bureau. And so what we did was we had other branches as we would close that say you lost 20% of what was there as far as what was because you wanted to create a collab room or you want to create a meeting room and you want to have that extra space, right? And you want to have an open plan. And then we repurposed that. So I don't think really anything was taken and put in the furniture fund because you couldn't have a roof. It was just as much as I think that at that time that they could go in for to get these improvements. I think that's why they did it. I really don't know, but that's my best guess.
Any other questions, comments? As you're thinking, I have an economics background, so I just divided your total cost of money these buildings. So it's right at $3,600 a review per building. And I thought, wow, but you've explained a lot of what you're going to do. Another question I have, and I've always been kind of self-employed and done my own thing. And so I see that you have an employment provision in here.
I do.
Is this normal? I'm going to mention to the rest of the group here in a minute.
Yeah, so that employment provision is such that when Scott and Don work with you and we continue to grow a relationship with you, hopefully, you don't hire them to be Aaron's second-hand man and steal him from me. Be really honest. It's intended to keep you from taking my staff because I hire the brightest and the best and having them work directly for you and not for Navigate.
Well, I just wondered if this is normal. Like I said, I've just been a small builder type. The owner will be required to pay an employment fee of $90,000 for each employee.
Only if you hire them.
If they're hired, and $55,000 for restaffing. I just mentioned that to my colleagues that it's there, not that it's going to happen. And I just, maybe this is standard issues in bigger businesses. I don't know.
It has been a standard clause in the contracts that Navigate has issued and with public agencies, or private too for that matter, actually more importantly with private. And again, there is no risk to you whatsoever unless you attempt to directly hire one of my employees to be a full-time position for you. That would be the only risk. If you don't hire a Navigate employee, and as an owner of a company, I hope you all understand that we invest a lot in training our people and making them the best of the best. You could do you can hire with a non-compete with your employees. I don't know that that's fair to them. Or you can ask your clients respectfully, hey, if you hire me, please note that I don't want in a year for you to turn around and take one of my people.
And I will add, Bill Moore is reviewing the agreement. We haven't executed this one, obviously. So if revisions are needed,
So
Todd and I would work on that with Bill Moore.
For sure, everything's negotiable. I mean, you're trying to the guy that's writing the contract, so it's not difficult to.
No, I was just.
And unlike big companies, we do have some flexibility. You know, we look at every opportunity separately, but that is why. This is, we're just simply trying to. My previous employer, we had a wonderful project manager, you know what I mean? And he became the facility director for the university we were working at. And was that a good thing for us as a general contractor? Sure, because, you know, we got more work with the university. In the same token, as a consultant, as a person that's performing a role, we do know that part of the reason why we're successful in our role is the fact that it's very difficult to find good people. Right? It really is. And so we train them and we want to maintain them. That's it. Again, there's zero risk to you unless you were to complete this assignment and say, hey, look, you know, that would be awkward anyway.
I just didn't know if this was common verbiage. I don't recall, I was on the city council, at least some, I don't recall that kind of language, but did I read every
Sure.
corporate contract that?
I would say the answer is yes. Sorry.
As a residential home builder, and I was a small home builder, I've never heard of anything like that.
Understood.
But that's all I just brought up. Any other? Yes. Oh, well, Jeremy, yes.
Sorry, Jeremy Wilmot, Chief Financial Officer. I think Todd laid it out well. The two most common things you see is either a complete no holds barred non-compete, which a lot of consulting firms are shying away from because it's hard to hire people when you basically tie their hands to any future employment agreement. But what's more often known as a finder's fee in the organization. It appears to be punitive simply because it's a disincentive for our organization to try to poach employees from their organization. And so, as Todd mentioned, it is negotiable, but it's fairly common in most of the consulting agreements I've dealt with in the last 15 years.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
Marcy Gregg. Just a quick question. So length of time for your services, you know, from beginning to completion of this proposal of the document?
Yes, ma'am. If we're blessed to be joining your team on November 15th, we had a completion date in the schedule, I believe, of March 4th. There was hope to be done 2 weeks earlier than that, which is when I first articulated to your team. But they did want to obviously go through the right channels here to make sure it was properly approved. So that moved from November 1st to November 15th. So I just slid my time frame back by 2 weeks to go from February 15th to March 4th.
Good question.
And the hope was that would time out somewhat with some budgeting activities I believe you do as an organization. Q2 of next year.
Anything else? I think Aaron and I talked this morning. I thought maybe we had to actually take an action prior to the full board action, which I guess we do not have to do. So this really is for presentation purposes, for questions, anything that is a red light that we want to, that we're aware of before it gets to the full board. It's a 12-member board. So it doesn't require a motion to go forward. So since it's your time, just to ask any, like my off-the-wall question on, which I disagree with all that, but not enough. What you do is what you do. But I just thought, I look at it from your employee's perspective. It's okay. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Marcy again. So just give me a sense of what you do, because I've served on the city council too, but in independence and some planning commission background in that. Yours is the first kind of company that I've been aware of that does this sort of middleman work. Right. In your experience working with the companies, say J.B. Dunn or some others, how much? I mean, typically, a business needs their work, they go to them, and they're all in-house. Everything from estimating a schedule of repairs and so on, because they're assuming they're going to do it. How much of the work that you're doing do you expect sort of to be cost saving? I mean, percentage wise, I mean, I can see going into a company like Dunn and they're saying, you were used to doing all this in-house. And so, yeah, you're bringing us great valuable information about X, Y, and Z that needs to be done in a building, but we're going to go in and have our people look at it too and do this sort of do, I guess I'm wondering about duplicate work, just trying to get a sense of what you do.
Absolutely.
I'm not
So-
opposed to this at all, I'm just.
I love the question. So by state statute, in 2016, you're allowed to hire a J.E. Don, McCormick, God, I keep getting Brett, anyway, I'm screwing up the names. Let's just use J.E. Don. You can hire, and you did, you hired J.E. Don. By state statute, you can now hire him on what they call CM at risk. Okay, construction manager at risk. And essentially what that means is you can negotiate with them. You can hire them on their qualifications and a portion of the fee. Now, I might get way too detailed for you. And I don't mean to at all, so stop me if I need to pull it back up. In that role, you're hiring somebody and they're going to offer you services like estimating or constructability or probably those two things are the key things, maybe pre-order stuff for you. And they did it on your library projects, right? They said they're going to be your partner. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. However, when you bring them on board, you negotiate their portion of a dollar. A general contractor is hired to be a quarterback of construction, and he's going to hire all those subcontractors. Generally, even as a home builder, you'd make 15%, maybe home builders do a little bit better than that, but that's your fee, that's your general conditions.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. 15% is what you're going to pay them directly. And from that, they're going to make a profitability of 1 to 3%. But the rest is being funneled to subcontractors. Buy your drywall, buy this. So they're not actually doing it, they're just managing it. When you use a J Dunn, what you then do by state statute is you, in a lot of ways, forego the ability to compete that role, right? To competitively bid it. On these smaller projects, you're not going to get a J Dunn interested because they don't want to do a window replacement. They want to do the big build. That's why our company works really well. Because we all came from a J Dunn, the services they do that could be duplicated if they were involved would be your estimating, would be your constructability. We also take on additional services. We're a consultant, so we can do things J Dunn doesn't do. We do the inspections, the maintenance planning. We build the spreadsheets. We implement. We can buy direct. We can put out a bid package for windows without a design team, right? All the non-traditional ways you buy small little pieces, we can do, whereas their processes are set up on hiring an architect, engineers, design it, build it. And there's a process. When you get into window replacement, maybe you don't design it. Maybe why can't we just go to why can't we quantify the number, show it, and get rid of that piece, save you money? Why do we need a general contractor on here? Why don't we get rid of J Dunn and go directly to the window guy he would go to anyway? Because he doesn't do windows. He just manages it. So what we're able to do is there isn't a duplication here because of that reason. And more importantly is we're set up to tackle these small items a bit more effectively than a big massive J Dunn would be. So we both serve our role. There could be there's some argument to who do you use on a brand new build. We won't go there because both options are very valid. But on these small projects, that's where the advantage is. You're right. People just don't want to do it. I was told by a good friend of mine, do what everybody else doesn't want to do and do it better than the rest. And you'll do really well in life. And I believe that. Nobody wants to work for public agencies and nobody wants to do the little stuff. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better than anybody else. And I'm going to be unique. And we are. So good question. Did I answer that okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marty. Sometimes
Okay, anything else then? Otherwise, I will close this portion and move to item 6.
All right, thank you, Todd.
Thank you, guys. Please be excused. Thank you. Let's have a wonderful day.
Where's your house in Lee Summit?
What?
Where's your house in Lee Summit?
Elevate 114. I'm not part of it.
downtown, sure.
Right by the train station. So
All right, go for it.
it's on the train station.
There, yeah. All right, our next item on the agenda is, we'll see you then in next week or 2 weeks. When's our board meeting's next week, isn't it?
That's Tuesday.
Item number 6, construction updates.
All right.
Riverside.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
So with us is Steve Thompson from PMC, and Steve will just give us a brief update on the 2 branches under his direction. Steve?
Yeah, Riverside, spoke with superintendent. I was out there last Friday. They've completed their asphalt and the striping. They still have the speed tables to pour. And then much of that hard site work will be done. Besides landscaping and that kind of stuff. The roof is on and detailed. They're basically going to be, completely dried in. They've got some window wall and glazing coming in next week. That should be finished. So they'll basically be dried in and weatherproof moving into the winter, so they can continue all their interiors work. So it's progressing well, actually a little ahead of schedule. So they're doing really well. In East Independence, also the asphalt was completed in the last month. The approach and entrances and all that, most of that site work is done. They had an issue with temporary power. They've been using generators up to now. They had planned to get, or had been promised by Independence Power, that they would deliver a transformer early in November. The weather created problems with the site, which put off asphalt, and that put off asphalt around the city. So they got back on the schedule. They've got that done. They did set last Friday. They set the precast pad for the asphalt, or for the transformer, and the transformer was expected on Monday. It's not there yet, so they've kind of gone silent and haven't been responding to calls. But once that's in, then they'll have temporary power won't need the generators. They're also weathered in. You can see most of the glazing is in. They've got a couple of pieces of glass yet, but the siding is going on. And they're also in great shape. Most of the thing through the winter will be interior work. Any questions?
We have just side comment. We have an OAC meeting this week, and we'll follow up about the delivery date for the transformer. I seem to remember someone saying they have a commitment for a delivery date, but I'll get that information for you guys and get back to you.
Yeah, I think there have been 2 or 3 promised delivery dates, but obviously it still hasn't occurred. So you could get back. That'd be great.
We're on it.
Okay. Any other construction dates? Construction updates?
No, I think all the issues we discussed in the last meeting have been resolved. The water issue out at Grain Valley and that conduit is all being rectified. I think we're good.
Then I'll just bring up another business in reference to the next date. Okay, any other items then under our construction updates? Yeah, questions? All right, let's go to item 7, other business. And I know one of the things we need to talk about is the date of our next meeting and why it may have to change. So Aaron, why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. Thank you. So staff would like to bring to the building committee a proposal for the demolition of the Harvey Jones building. I'm relatively certain that we'll have firm numbers on what it would cost to do that. And also the next building committee, I would like to explain the justification for doing it during this fiscal year as opposed to next. And to do that, we would need board authorization. And currently our building committee meeting is scheduled for, I believe, the 28th at 10 a.m., which falls after our regularly scheduled board meeting. So we are proposing that we change the date of the building committee meeting to either, well, we have a few choices. We could do December 6th, 12th, or 19th. And in that meeting, we will present to you a full plan for the demolition of the Harvey Jones building and explain why it is that we need to do it now as opposed to later. So our ask of you is, how do you feel about a December 6th, 12th, or 19th for the next date for the building committee?
Any comments about Wednesday, December the 6th.
Mr. Chairman. Marcy, that works wonderfully.
Works for me as well. Joycelyn.
All right, let's just go ahead and,
Time would that meeting be?
Up to you. I think we should, go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, I think.
Noon, 1 o'clock. Noon, 1.
What was that?
Yes, ma'am. That's it. Noon or 1 o'clock was the comment over here. I don't think he was serious about that. Is 10 an issue?
Yeah, for me it is. I can't be there if it's at 10.
Is there another time that day or any?
I could do noon.
Noon?
Anytime.
Yeah, that works.
How is
That works
noon?
for us.
Okay, so let's just, all right, is it, are we in concurrence that our next building committee meeting is going to be December the 6th at noon? Wednesday, December the 6th at noon? Is that good?
Yep.
I suggest someone sends Michelle a note so that she can know ahead of time.
Yeah, I think, well, I would hope that the entire
Yeah.
committee is notified. Yeah, I guess, yeah, well, everybody will be notified.
All right, great.
I think you had, all right, just to mention, under other business, if you'll look up here at the screen, I was going to mention this earlier. On Friday the 17th, November the 17th, that's this Friday. I will not be able to make that, and I'm not asking for anything to be changed. I'm going to have to give a knee replacement because pickleball has, it's not pickleball directly, although it is. You know, you cut, now that I give you this history of older people playing pickleball, cutting.
This is going on YouTube, by the way, just a reminder.
It doesn't matter. Let me just tell you, if you're in your upper 70s, watch how quickly you make cuts on a pickleball court. At some point in time, you're bone on bone, and let's just say that's, I'm going to get the full story Friday, so I'm not available for that meeting. That's all. Just, and I will make that doctor's meeting, so. Otherwise, those are your dates for, and I had, what's up there, yes. So Grain Valley is December the 1st, Friday, December the 1st. So let everybody know on those two, but I will not be there this Friday. And anything else before we adjourn?
That's all on our end.
Okay. Committee members, anything more?
I'd just like to commend to everybody that if they have the chance to go to these openings, Emily does just an absolutely fantastic job. They're really uplifting and great events to participate in.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, Michael here. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second Joycelyn.
Okay, so Michael then. All right, the motion is to adjourn today, and remember our next, before we vote on that, the next meeting again is Wednesday, December the 6th at noon. With that, all those in favor of adjournment say aye.